Well, we're stretched out there. I don't know if it's possible if you wanted to thin up Miss Pac-Man a little bit. Get ready for that sweet, sweet buzz of a fan in the bottom. Although it will be much tougher to hear once we get this game going. Not a problem. Alright. Not that there's anything wrong with being wider. So, I'm sure Retro might skinny her up a little bit here. Let's get to playing. So this is going to be a longer run, if you will. Trying to reach the kill screen. Normally on something like this, and I apologize for the buzz, but hopefully that should get drowned out by the game music as well. Keep Miss Pac-Man thick. So normally I would be playing for score. That's generally the way I'd play this. Also to play to the end, but maximizing score. I'm going to bypass the idea of maximizing score since that minimizes risk, so that we can have a higher odd completion rate here. I've been to the kill screen a handful of times, but let's get started. We got quite a bit of grinding ahead of us. And once again, this is another game that doesn't quite fit the standard of what maybe we normally see in this marathon. As I did note, this is by far the longest game on the block sets. But it's one that I've always really enjoyed, and it does produce a lot of very intense moments and interactions that will occur eventually as the game goes on. And these first couple levels, I can't help but still eat ghosts. There's a part of me that just can't let them go. So, I've never gone for a perfect game on original Pac-Man. I would like one day to hopefully be able to do a perfect game on Miss Pac-Man. Turbo, at least I should say. As you can tell, I'm playing the Turbo edition here, where Miss Pac-Man's moving way faster. So if you're unfamiliar with the Turbo aspect, you can consider it more or less a mod to the original game. I don't know, when I did some research to try to find out how it actually came about, I want to say that it may or may not have been really official, but kind of was perceived as official, since you take a game like Miss Pac-Man, which is one of the most popular arcade games in the early 80s, and at some point you need to revitalize it a bit. And then you go ahead and you add this speed mod to it, which is more or less just a chip that can be altered onto the board set, to my knowledge. And you've got yourself a fresh game for eating everybody else's quarters all over again. Now I'm being just loose here. I'm not even gonna go for that one. There's no reason. So normally my goal is I get perfect boards at least up through Pretzel, with Apple being the first one that really gives me so this is not, by far this is not direct feed. This is an original cabinet. I'm not quite sure how I would direct feed out of this thing if I wanted to. So I use the same camcorder I used for the play field for pinball for streaming this. So you do get some non-pure looking video feed, but it gets the job done for the supplies that I have. One thing I find about Miss Pac-Man is that I find it to be very relaxing for me, especially this version. I don't know why I'm still going for ghosts. That's just my innate wanting to eat ghosts. We need to play not for ghosts. Also, if you ever catch me doing a stream of Miss... See, I'm still going for ghosts. I trap them in this right side here by sitting in that corner. So then I can make the most out of my time with them there, with that upper pellet, which tends to be a tougher one to collect. So another thing that if you were to ever catch me streaming Miss Pac-Man normally, it's very common that I'm listening to music while playing. So when I say that this game is relaxing for me, I tend to find that I do my best when I am not thinking about what I'm doing at all, and I'm completely unfocused. And you kind of get into almost a Zen-like state. And that's where I feel that Miss Pac-Man really does its best for me. So, especially in the later levels, if you're not already aware, eventually these power pellets will cease to do anything other than flip the ghosts around 180. We're just going to let them feed into there. Boop. Boop. Once again, I can't help but eat ghosts. We won't go for those up there, that's silly. And we're just moving right along. So the best part about this to me is you just end up with having to be reflex heavy just non-stop. You always kind of have to be ready. You have to be anticipating what the ghosts are going to do based on their location to you, location to the other ghosts. Since that's how their AI is programmed to function. Know the speed at which you can move and what you can afford to get away with and what you can't. Generally, you can count the number of flashes. You get 5 flashes, 2, 3, 4, 5 before they turn back. Also, be aware of which level you're on as you're approaching what I like to call the long road, which is the point where the ghosts cease to turn, because after that you're grinding out level after level to get to the very end. And since at the beginning of the game the ghosts pan out randomly, it doesn't allow you to patternize the levels like you can in Pac-Man. What you can do though is learn ghost AI and patterns, and you can control them. It's one thing that I have not perfected yet in my time with Miss Pac-Man. It's something I would like to put on my bucket list of things to do. My original Pac-Man bucket list, Miss Pac-Man bucket list, was break 500,000, which has happened, and then get to the kill screen, which has also happened. So I kind of have to set myself some new goals. And on top of that is I need to learn how to get better with controlling the ghosts so that on the levels where you only get 2 seconds with the power pellet, I can continue to eat all ghosts. Pair is another is a level where you get all the time in the world. No reason not to get it perfect. So original Pac-Man is 255 levels. Miss Pac-Man plays out a little bit differently. There's also some randomness to the number of levels that you'll get to see. Generally what you'll get is... Hold on a second here. Boom, boom. I don't know why I'm eating these guys. Once again, silly. But it gives me more time. and I know what's safe and what's not safe to do. So we're going to use the tunnels a bit here for control. You know, I need to not worry about fruit as well, but I'll be damned if I'm letting a banana just slip away. It's like sacrilege. So, levels. Miss Pac-Man is a little bit different, as I said. You end up with, I want to make sure I say this correctly, you get 134 levels, and then you get a randomized number of either 1, 2, 4, or 8 more levels. No, I said that wrong. 133 levels with a randomized 1, 2, 4, or 8, which can give you a maximum of 141 levels. So with the fact that after the first banana, which we just finished out, all the fruit is random at a range of... Uh-oh. It's a tight kind of reactionary move set that can make Miss Pac-Man very interesting very fast. So anywhere from 100 to 5,000 points times 2, so 200 to 10,000 points randomly generated on a given level across over 100 levels means that the overall scoring in Miss Pac-Man is very tough to think you can control. I can't say if we'll be seeing all 141. My goal is that we see everything up to the kill screen. Another neat thing is the kill screen is not the same every single time. On this particular machine, I have had 2 completely different kill screens occur. One of the types I have only seen happen once, which was flipping the level upside down, visually, but not actually. You still move as if it's a normal level. And then, let me get these guys out of here. Whoa. Whoa. Do a little control. Clear that out. Bring them back this way, and we'll go finish this out. Whip up up. So the level flips upside down, but you got to play it normal. I had more than one guy left at the time I got there, but as soon as I touched something, which there was a points just floating around the level, I didn't honestly know exactly what it was, so I went and I touched it, and it turned out to be a ghost, and then it killed me, and then it basically hard resets the game, like as if I unplugged it and plugged it back in. And then it's over. Hence the kill screen. Now on Junior 1, which is where we're at right now, you once again get a lot of time with your ghosts. So normally I would be 100% eating all ghosts here. But since that's not the goal at this point in time, I'm not as concerned, and I'll just eat a few to make me feel better about myself. So it is a legit 1.5 hours, yes. There will be no restarts here for me, because every time I sit down to play Miss Pac-Man, I got to be ready for the potential of not getting up and being able to go anywhere for a hot minute. And by the time we actually get to a point, if we have a half-decent game and I fail, there is not enough time for me to restart so we can try again. And I just let that pretzel go because, once again, this is not about points right now. Yeah, on vanilla it's around 3 hours. Once again, I went for the points. I shouldn't be. I gotta break that. I've always actually wanted to try to do this as a speed run, because when I've seen really top level players play, they play with control. They control the ghosts, they control their patterns, and that takes time. But that time translates to safety. Ghost just turned back, so now we're going to go do this. Hello? Soft pretzels with mustard, even hard pretzels with mustard are good. Yellow mustard, obviously, is important in that situation. You can see that you don't have a lot of time with the ghost turn there. That's your minimum amount of time. Eating all 4 ghosts in that time does require you to have set yourself up to be able to have them grouped. You got to be ready for them to turn back. And you got to have ghost awareness. So me just generally talking while playing normally wouldn't be the best way to concentrate, but it stops me from overly focusing. So once we get back to the next banana, this level here, you do get a lot of time once again with your power pellet, and all intents and purposes should be a full perfect. But it's also important that we keep count. So I'm putting a number 1 up, which you can't see, because it's important I remember what level we're on. This is where not paying attention will get you. And it's gotten me many times as well. And usually the kicker for me is I will end up dying because of greed and wanting to maximize my points and eat as many ghosts as possible. If I don't have good groupings, I'll revert and make sure I get a better grouping. The first pinball game I ever played, you said as in tonight or in general? If it's in general, that's a hard one for me to say that I remember. I can say the first one I ever owned was an Elvira and the Party Monsters. One of the first games I ever honestly remember putting a good amount of time on was a Junkyard. And this is level 2, by the way. Draw them over to this side so we can get some time on it. So, yellow girl is fast because of the fact that it's the turbo version of the game. That was close. Now that was basically down to ghost awareness and knowing that which ghost is going to try to turn directly at me and which one is going to take an alternate kind of strafing path at me. Since it happens so quick, I don't get a lot of time to really think about those types of interactions. So you kind of just have to play it out. Now this is level 3. Now the good thing is, since I'm not trying to really eat ghosts, man, that guy was all over that path. I normally take the same, or I try to take the same path at the start of every level, but once in a while you get the randomness. So this is actually level 4. I forgot to put out a finger, which is usually how I get crushed. So right now you can see that that just turns them around. Whoa. So I got to get used to that because we're going to be seeing plenty of that. And this is going to be the next level, which is going to be the last one where we get to eat ghosts on. So yeah, you could say that the power pellet time is set to 0 at this point because it still does turn the ghosts around. So this one here is going to be your last power pellet set where you get to eat ghosts, and it's only a 2-second set, so it's really not all that effective unless you can get some really good grouping going on. And since I'm not worried about points, we're just going to haul through. So you basically are left at the at this point with the banana and the junior levels, and they'll scroll back and forth every 4 times you play them. So you'll play 4 and then it'll change, 4 and then it'll change. Not having to worry about the fruit is going to be a nice touch. There we go. And then here we are at the long road, as I like to call it, because this is the beginning of where I need to sit back and then hope for the best. Now, the only kicker is normally I do my best at keeping a concept of what level I'm on based on where my score is at. And as of right now, since I don't know why I did that. Since I did not kind of start out like I normally do, I don't have as many points as I would normally have. Ugh. But we're kind of close-ish. At this point, I always want to be over 200,000, or usually I'm between 200 and 220. So the first 200,000 is by far the easiest 200,000, since you can eat ghosts. Everything after that is very fruit-based, and also just grinding out. I will say not worrying about the fruit really does seem to take a lot of the pressure off. So another thing about the fruit is triggered based on the number of dots that you've eaten. So let's say that after you eat X number of dots, the first piece of fruit will come out. And then after you eat Y number of dots, the second piece of fruit will come out. The one and biggest thing you need to be aware of, though, is that if you already have the first piece of fruit run in the board, and you happen to eat the number of dots that would trigger that second one, I know your plan there, Inky, you will not get your second fruit. So it tends to be very important that when that first fruit comes out, you make a point of making sure to eat it before you clear too much of the stage. If I just ignore that fruit and I just go clearing, I may not get a second fruit, and that second fruit could be 5,000 points, which is going to be really important to the overall score if you care about score, and that tends to be one of the biggest things to care about here. Whoa, that was close. So those center sections at the bottom tend to be some of the last ones I'll clear out as well. They can be a little tricky, but that's all good. We got them. So even though the rest of this game may get fairly repetitive and seem like a potential slug, since it's not about memorization and more about instinct, to me at least, since I don't pattern the ghosts up to make life easier, it keeps me on my toes, it keeps my wit sharp, and I feel that it adds some level of additional entertainment value, that some extra stuff does happen that can turn into a pretty clutch moment or a harsh escape. I like to think about pretty much every single turn that I make being a single interaction, and I need to be alert for every single one of those. Not every one might be interesting, but once in a while, it does get real hot real fast. Also, controlling where the ghosts are going to be so I can lead them away from areas. You get an extra life at 10k, that's it. Ideally, much like a lot of games, Sometimes one life is all you need to make it happen, and that's the mentality you normally need to keep. One thing I do find about playing Miss Pac-Man is that as soon as I start losing that first life, or I start losing lives, the rest tend to be not too far behind. Unless I can get myself back into that mental groove. The fact that I've got the top, middle, left, I usually try to get that. That's the most dangerous area on the junior level. So I definitely try to clear that out as early as possible. So short of the ghosts stopping and getting in my way off their initial randomness, I like to do that pattern you just saw right there. And then it's also important that you stop every once in a while. You stall, it gives you a moment to think, and then it gives you the ability to kind of force the ghosts, make them make their decision, and then I will follow up my decision based off of what I see. Also, be ready and alert for them to do that turn back. The turn back that you see them do, where they just straight up turn around, seemingly on their own accord, is based on a timer. And that will happen continuously throughout the level. So if I were to sit here and just constantly grind out time, the ghosts will try to fight back against that by doing that turn back, allowing me not to just infinitely rock them out. So if you're ever following a ghost too closely, there's the turn back. Once you see the turn back, you know you're safe for a hot minute. But it's important that you don't follow a ghost too closely. Be ready that it can happen. And when it does, get out of there. So the goal here is the kill screen, Bloom. That is correct. One thing I've also never done, which would be really awesome, I'd say is also on the bucket list, is to kill screen this game with a single life. It wouldn't be a perfect game because you have to eat all ghosts and all fruit, and I'm certainly not making that a goal as of right now. I could be ready for that turn back here. Draw them there. Oh, that's a problem. Whoa! Alright, we're good. We're good. But we still have a long way to go. So for what it's worth, you can see the high score that's on here. I do have a RAM chip installed so I can have it save the high score. The only problem is when you kill screen, since it kills the game and doesn't actually end it properly, it does not log the score into the high score slot. So the only way for me to get the high score to actually save in there is to die. So that's the highest score I've gotten on death. I think my personal best is like 830 something. And the world record for Miss Pac-Man Turbo, I hate when he's running with me there. Ugh. Is, I want to say it's 930 something. 900 is kind of like the Millionaires Club, where like there's only so many people that have actually gotten to 900,000 period in a Miss Pac-Man game, especially if you're talking about vanilla or regular speed. I don't know why I went for that pair. It is not Billy Mitchell. He does not care for the turbo version of this game. There's a lot of people that don't care for the turbo version of this game. A lot of people say it's too easy, which it definitely is easier. I'm not going to lie about that in any way, shape, or form. Original Miss Pac-Man, original speed, where the ghosts are faster than you are, is definitely a tougher game. No doubt. But I tend to find the need for the faster reaction time and the benefit of the extra speed to be more exciting for me. And it's also got a personal nostalgia for me. I've got you here for a little bit of time. You've got me here for a little bit of time. Why not talk about some stuff, you know? I mean, for me, Miss Pac-Man holds more than just a game. There's a reason why it's my favorite arcade game. So growing up, we had, back in 1985, I want to say. So my parents both liked games. So I was lucky enough that for Christmas, I think, if I recall it correctly, so I have one brother who's 2 years older, and for Christmas, my parents teamed up and got my brother and my dad, as kind of a group gift, a regular NES. There we go, cleared that out. And then they got, as a group gift, me and my mom, a Miss Pac-Man machine. Now, it was kind of in some weird Astrocade cabinet, and it had like a turbo button, which made Miss Pac-Man go faster, but it also made the ghosts go faster, so it really just sped the game up a little bit, and it only lasted for like 3 seconds. So it was really weird. But we had a Miss Pac-Man game. Now, I'd be lying to say that that wasn't really as much of a gift for us as they bought it for themselves. When I'd be sleeping in my bed, I would definitely hear in the basement lots of Miss Pac-Man going on, or the sounds of like original golf on NES. My dad would have friends over, and that sound when you hit the ball, that ooh sound, I would hear that all night, which is a nice memory. But my parents really did enjoy playing Miss Pac-Man. So it has kind of a nostalgia point for me growing up that Miss Pac-Man was part of our kind of family, if you will. And we still have that original machine. My brother actually has it. This particular one I bought for myself because I wanted to have an original Miss Pac-Man machine to own. And I got lucky. I got this off of Craigslist from a person who owned it for many years. They were, like, the family was moving and the son was selling off, like, a lot of the stuff so he could get the money for it. And I was able to get this particular machine for, I think, $300. And it's an original, all original boards, cocktail table. It did need a little bit of work. The game had a resetting problem when I got it. But all intents and purposes, it was a great machine. And I was really happy to get it at that price. And one of the things that I like about when I can get something like that is I know I'm getting it and it's going to a good home. I'm not the guy that's buying it off Craigslist and I'm going to go gut it and put an iCade Chinese board in it or something and try to sell it for $1,500. I'm going to take it and I'm going to really, like, play this for the rest of my life. Like, this isn't going anywhere. And, you know, a goal, I set personal, like, lifelong bucket list goals for me for this game. So why Miss Pac-Man Turbo as well? That's another good question that I'm asking on behalf of you guys out there. So another thing I can mention is that growing up, my dad was also a fan of horse racing and gambling on horse racing. So one kind of father-son activity we had was that we would go out to, I'm going to do that a little safer. We would go out to the racetrack and we would gamble on horses. I was, anywhere from, maybe I started gambling on horses at like age 10 for all I can remember. So I was learning how to read and handicap horses at an early age. But he would give me like a small amount of money, like a $20 kitty, if you will, and that's what I'd get to play the whole day. And it was a live racetrack too. It wasn't a simulcast, and it was at a small place. Whoa, that was close. Whoa, jeez, double ghost coming through the tunnel at the start. What is up with that? So anyway, we would go out to the racetrack, and we would. I'd get to spend pretty much like the whole day out there with him, and handicap horses. And the nice thing is, every race is every 30 minutes or so. You can honestly bet $2 on a race. Bet a perfecta, trifecta, just bet them to win. And if I lost 10 races, $2 a race, that's $20. And I just, for my dad's sake, we just had a full day activity of us having good father-son time. And, if I win, he would let me keep the winnings. And the nice thing is, like, if I was up money, then I could go bet some, like, larger amounts. So I could bet, like, $4 or something like that on a single race, which would be exciting. Anyway, to get to the Miss Pac-Man portion of this story, this racetrack also had a very small little arcade. It had I remember there being an arch rivals there. There was a pole position, which I love pole position. And there was a couple others, not a lot, but it had a few, like a very small amount. But they also had a Miss Pac-Man machine. Now, at the time, I was young. I knew that we had Miss Pac-Man at home. I knew that I wasn't all that great at it because original speed Miss Pac-Man is no easy task. It's a tough game. And I knew that Junior existed, the Junior levels existed, because I'd seen my mom get to them. And that in itself is its own accomplishment on an original Miss Pac-Man with no continues. So I would play this machine at the racetrack, and then for whatever reason, I'm like getting to the junior levels and a little bit beyond, and I'm like, wait a second. When did I get so good at Miss Pac-Man? I remember struggling. I did not realize that the machine was running as the turbo version that you see here. And I was performing way better. Now, that's because the game itself is easier, because you're able to move faster and get out of the way of the ghosts. I like so. But it always stuck with me that I'm like, oh wow, I'm enjoying playing Miss Pac-Man because I'm doing better at it. And as a little kid, that's a great feeling that, I remember this game that we have. So yeah, racetrack, horse racetrack. When I talk about a racetrack, I generally think of horse racing, gambling on horses. Ugh, I was spending too much time right there waiting that out. Needed to make a move. Send them back. Oh, and then they double. That's always the worst. When they double back right as you expect them to turn from eating a power pellet, that's when they can get you. Because you're thinking about it too much. So anyway, I always had an affinity for Miss Pac-Man because it always had a place for me growing up. It reminds me of my parents, and I always enjoyed the turbo version of Miss Pac-Man because I always felt, man, I can do pretty good at that. And then, when I currently live out in Virginia. I'm originally from Michigan, the Detroit area of Michigan, and I currently live in Virginia. And when I moved out here, I didn't know anybody. And so I spent time going to more arcades whenever I could, and that was about a little over 13 years ago now. So back in 2005, there were still arcades around at that time, but I've always been a big fan of all the classics. I love Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Frogger, Galaga, Gyrus. I'm a big fan of. I like Gyrus a lot too. Because a lot of those I had a. So Good question about MagFest. I went to, so last year was the first MagFest that I hadn't gone to since I moved here. I went to, I want to say 12 or 13 MagFests in a row. And then I stopped going last year. And part of that was that I changed jobs just recently. So I kind of forfeited all my vacation time and changing jobs. I kind of had to start over with that. Started the new job. I only had so much PTO available to take time off, and it just wasn't going to be feasible. And I don't have as much available vacation to take time. Jesus! I was supposed to go through there, and I biffed it. So there goes the flawless run. But we're still in a really good spot. We got to get back into the groove. Step one to whenever I die is I need to focus on getting through the level that I died on and not die again on that same level. Because that's where things kind of fall apart. I got greedy there. That's okay. You might also notice that I passed through Sue and then actually turned back. So you could see the delay in my action there. If I would have just kept going and I didn't turn back into her, I would have stayed alive and passed through that ghost. I can't say I honestly know the exact details for under what the constraints are that you're allowed to pass through ghosts. It does happen. It's not a very common occurrence. I can't say that it's something that you can personally control, and if it is, I don't know how to do it. Whoa. Just go for it there. We're going to do that safer. Draw them over. So that perfect, not perfect game. There we go. We got through the level. So the AI never changes in the levels as the levels go on. There is a the ghosts. I want to say like in the first few levels up to a certain point, which is real early on, which might be banana. The ghosts get faster. So, but one big thing about the ghosts getting faster is that the ghosts will get faster as the more, oh Jesus, shit. See, now this is where things start to fall apart. As soon as you lose that first guy, everything starts to unhinge a little bit. Alright, got to play cool, play cool. You only need one life to get through Miss Pac-Man. Get back on track here. So the more dots you eat, the faster the ghosts will go, though. So that's another thing is, if you want to group ghosts to a certain point to clear out areas, if I eat too many dots, red is going to outrun the other ghosts. You can see that red is faster than the other ghosts. And he gets faster the more dots you eat within that level, making clearing out the last few dots more difficult. So the ghost difficulty has to do with probably your personal play style, to be honest. You could say that maybe somebody struggles with one ghost more than another because of the AI that each of them have. So red, one of the easiest ways to think about it is red is going to take the shortest path he can to get to you. When he reaches an intersection, he computes what the shortest path in a direct line he is from Miss Pac-Man. And then we'll take the choose the direction based on that situation at every intersection. Now, Inky, on the other hand, the green ghost, is best known as a sidestepper, if you will. He will take the indirect path. He will run alongside you and not go directly at you, which tends to be the hardest part of the ghost AI, is to anticipate what direction he will go. Because he'll be the one that will generally fool you. You'll expect that he's going to turn at you, and then he doesn't. All right, we got to play this a little bit smarter there. Pull them away. There we go. Get a clean get at that. Sue is like your wild card. I kind of think, if anybody watches or has watched Sunny in Philadelphia, I like to refer to Sue as the Charlie of the group. Couldn't help myself, it was a banana. So Sue's the wild card who will generally not even confront you. Given the opportunity to come right at you, he will go the other, or she will go the other, oh, whoa, jeez. All right, we got out of that. Now that was being ready for that turn back that could have happened at any time there, and then acting appropriately. So that's another thing is the Ghost's AI will actually change based on their proximity to one another as well. So you can see those three ghosts are all grouped up there. Once they group up, they will change their AI and start to act like each other, which allows for that grouping mechanic to occur. Which is an interesting aspect of the game, in my opinion. I can't say that I recall and remember all those details. It's just good to know that once you have them grouped, you have a lot more control over them. And if you think about it, when they're all spread out, it's basically they're covering so much ground that it can lock you into a bad place. When they're grouped like that little train of four right there, it's so easy for me to avoid them. Look at that. A bunch of chumps. Which makes me clearing that level like cake. That was like butter, because they're not even around. So if you're somebody who can group ghosts really well, you can sit here and on each level, you can play and group your ghosts so that you can minimize and mitigate risk to be able to pretty much guarantee you can get a kill screen every time. All right, I apologize for that one. We're on our last life here. This is going to have to go really well. So I'll try to put more focus into my gameplay and less onto talking. Although normally, I try to prefer to talk because I feel that keeps my mind busy. But we're going to switch gears here a little bit so we can try to make the most out of this last life. So sit back and enjoy the sweet, sweet sounds of dots being eaten. Herein lies the problem with being able to restart a game like this. I don't really know how long I've been playing for. But to start again and have a good game will eat up a lot of time. Since we have no power pellet in the bottom left, we're going to clear the bottom right first because we'll end in the bottom left. Draw them back over and finish it out. I'm still going to be unable to stop myself from announcing at least a little bit. So we'll get some commentary in there, especially when it comes to the way that I'm approaching. I tend to like to talk about what I've got going on in my mind when I'm playing. Clear that out, draw them in, send them back, wait for it, bring them over. Once they get close, clear out the rest, out you go. I was telling the guys that since there's so much, at least in the pinball, there's so much randomness in that, and especially with Miss Pac-Man. If I fail at Miss Pac-Man, and there's not enough time to restart, which under general circumstances there never is, for the length, I could definitely get you guys back on schedule. Obviously the goal would be to not have that happen. So we'll see what we can do here. Always want to try to clear out that top center. That's our most dangerous part on junior levels. Wait to bring them over, then we can clear over. We'll cut back. They cut back. I gotta watch that Inky. They're going around that way, which leads them across. Cut through, send him back, and then boom. Bob's your uncle. It's between 133 and 141. So since I'm not eating all the fruit, it's kind of hard for me to gauge exactly where we're at. If I had to guess, the kill screen won't occur until a score of probably around 600-ish with the way that I'm playing right now. It was a tight squeeze, but I was fairly confident I had that on lockdown. Know your speed, know your distances. Jimmy Q Balls is up next. I can see that he's in the chat, so he would be ready to go given catastrophic failure on my behalf. Big thanks to everybody who's hanging around for... Yeah, that's the wild card move up there. So another thing is, I'm always watching the entire screen. It's like I can't focus. I always like to make this comparison. So you can't focus just on your character. And I find it funny that I make a comparison between playing Miss Pac-Man to playing a shmup. And that when you're playing a shmup, you can't just watch your ship directly. You got to be aware of everything in your surroundings and your environment. So the fact that I could see that in the background that Inky took a step down, so I went up instead, is what made that work and I didn't die. Complete environmental awareness is key. Thank you, Gear Strike. Out this corner. We're gonna have to do the... Oh, I could have had that top left. Yeah, I gotta do it. All right, we're going to pull them up over the top so we can get that center section, then go back around through and then end in that bottom corner so we don't get trapped. So it's not just looking at the screen though, it's looking at everything. So it's kind of like if you ever looked at one of those 3D see, that's the type of jerk move that Inky likes to make. I'm just sitting up there, you're waiting for him to turn right into you, but then he doesn't do it. But if you anticipate him coming at you, you're going to go right into him. That's what he wants. That's who he is as a person. So yeah, if you've ever looked at those Magic Eye 3D puzzles where you have to like uncross your eyes in order to like see the real image, it's kind of like here. You just got to like unfocus to focus. The more focus, the worse off you do. I tend to find that I can tell when I'm about to go wrong when I find myself actually focused on Miss Pac-Man specifically. I can sense that bad things are afoot when I'm actually looking at her directly and I kind of have her in my eyesight. Like right here, I can focus on her, but I'm really watching the ghosts. Putting them in what position I want them in, and then making my move. Their double back is going to come any second. There it is. That was stupid. Had to get out of there. I should have cut through with them. I opted not to, but we made it out. Yes, sir, there is. All intents and purposes, if I can not make any more mistakes, we'll get there. That turn back is going to come any second. Be ready. There it was. Cleared that one very fast. Some of the best ways to get the ghosts to group up is literally there's going to be certain corners and tactics for you to be able to get them to group together. You more or less want to get them in line. I know you use basically the center section in this, that kind of square center section, to get the ghost to group up by going through the maze. It's not a tactic that I've got the skill for. Oh, crap. All right, there's that turn back, so we're clear. But I have watched a guy play and do it. It's really impressive to watch somebody else just control the ghosts. And once they're grouped up, you can hold it. And it's just certain paths you can take where you can get them lined up together. It does take some doing because, like I said before, at the start, they go into a random pattern to send them off in a way so that the game does not patternize like original Pac-Man does. Alright, we had to use the power pellet to get out of that situation there. It's okay, we'll just end in that corner, so it's not a big deal. We got to clear out that center bit. We got them a little too separated at the moment. There we go. Got it. So one of the big things about Miss Pac-Man versus original Pac-Man is only one level, and it never changes, other than the patterns that the ghosts will take at the start of the level, which is consistent, so that you can memorize it. We need a little bit more pulled over. There we go. I like it, and we'll take it. So we're at 400, which is good. 500 is definitely going to be a feel-good number if we can get there. So a lot of times, my personal when I'm playing, you have to set like limits for yourself so that you don't get disappointed. Because every game for me cannot be a kill screen. So I have to have a number in mind where I'm like, I'm satisfied enough that I don't feel like I just wasted my time playing this game. And generally for me, that number is set at 300,000. That means I've gotten to the long road and I've played it for a decent enough amount of time that I've achieved an extra 100,000 on top of that. Which is kind of that, okay, I'm good enough. Now, honestly, I'd like to always get much higher than that. And I'd probably be around 500,000 right now if it weren't for the fact that I'm not really focusing on ghosts and fruit. Mainly fruit is the big one. Clear that. I mean, I'm still eating the occasional piece of fruit. There we go. Turn him around. Now, if there was a turn back there, I would have been dead. That's where a turn back will generally get you. Clear this out since they're in that top corner. We'll pull them back over to the top left, go through, clear out the bottom, we're safe. It would be a bit ridiculous and I would need a lot of help. I always thought it would be fun to try to stream or play Miss Pac-Man. And while playing, every time I'd eat a piece of fruit, someone would feed me a piece of fruit that matched that fruit, in pretzels. I would have to have a lot of food on standby, and someone would have to be feeding me said food. I don't know if that would just turn out to be way too much food, and that would be just a really bad idea. But I think that would be interesting. As long as I didn't get too many pretzels in a row, because obviously that would just make me thirsty. Ugh. That wasn't really a normal path that I take. I don't know why I decided to do that. They're going to turn back any minute. There it is. That double turn back. I ate the pellet and they turned right as I ate it, making it difficult because mentally I'm thinking about them taking a completely different route. It's all good though. Oh, in a power, yeah, that would be dead. Straight up dead. I wouldn't even have time to chew. There'd be so much. At least with the fruits, I get time to chew. So there is a way to actually keep track of what level you're on if you wanted to know while you're playing what level you're on. We're going to end in the top middle. Most dangerous area of the board. We'd rather end there than have to get out. The last two digits are... what up, Denier? The last two digits are always going to be the same. Since the fruit does not affect it, at the end of each level, there will be a pattern to the numbers in the last two digits. So if you can memorize the way that the last two digits pattern through all 141 levels, you can know what level you're on. Now, there's simpler ways to do that, I'm sure. Just remember every certain, like, banana level or every certain junior level. But I do not have them memorized. I do have a list of all those scores, though. the scores, min and max, of what you could have at every level. I apologize for not remembering the person's name off the top of my head, but while streaming this one time, somebody was nice enough to put that together for me in a Google spreadsheet when I was talking about that same thing. And then also the idea of calculating what the against all odds maximum number of points you could have are if for some reason you had all bananas. So it's all about that high potassium diet when it comes to high scores in this game. Also, I refer to cherries as the trash fruit since they are a waste of mine and everybody else's time at only 100 points. But you gotta eat them. Points is points. And you gotta eat them because that's the only way you're getting another one. Another one being another fruit, unless you want to wait for it to go away, which would be just ridiculous. What's up, banana? High potassium. If they're going to hang out up there, I'll just go clear the bottom. I'm fine with that. I ain't going to let you best me here. Oh, all right. Didn't care for that. There we go. We're grouping them back to the left. Grab this corner. Send them back that way. Send them back this way, and then we'll get that. Sorry, Pear. You're on your own. Pear's 2,000 points. Also extremely good. It's your second best fruit, obviously, next to banana. So pears are always really welcome. Additional fun fact about your current streamer is that I'm also tend to be known for owning hedgehogs. I don't know if anybody was watching the pinball stream and happened to catch the t-shirt I was wearing today, which is a Godzilla hedgehog mashup, Hedgezilla. But the hedgehogs will also make appearances on stream. If certain people are in the chat that just so happen to have some hedgehog-related emotes, feel free to share them. Ugh. Alright, so we're going to have to do this a little bit smart. Don't want to screw it up. Pull them down on the bottom side, then we go over and finish the job. There's my boys. Hedgehogs do tend to make appearances on the pinball-related streams, and they tend to be a crowd favorite. They're a fun time. Just fun facts. Some of the best hedgehogs on all of Twitch. That's an ugly setup there. I don't need to be battling ghosts that close. I also tend to think about when I'm making like close calls. I call it close quarters combat, CQC, which tends to remind me a lot of the Metal Gear Solid 3. I believe that's where they were coining the term close quarters combat as a new feature. Oh, crap. And there we go. So feel free to play the failure music. No 1cc there.
No.
I was hoping that he was going to come down and not over, so I went over and then he went over, and it was over. Dun dun dun. So I went 0 for 3 tonight. But I do really appreciate you guys having me here. So I guess at this point, this probably gets you back on schedule, hopefully, or close to, or maybe even a little early. So thanks everybody for hanging out. And next up is Jimmy with Narc. So you all have a good night. Enjoy the rest of the stream. This marathon has been amazing thus far, and look forward to the rest of it. Have a good night, everybody.